Letter B, we let y equal 0. In order to solve for x here, we need to square both sides. The square root and the square become 1, or we say they cancel. So we get 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Subtract 2 and divide by 3. Okay, so we go to letter C. We let y equal 0. Multiply 2x squared minus 6 on both sides. So this becomes 1. 2x squared minus 6 times 0 is 0. Subtract the 3. So x is equal to negative 3. Letter D. So here we let y equal 0. And then we want to factor out what they have in common. So if you notice here, we have 81 and 9. So what they have in common is 9. They both have factors of 9. And how do I determine that? For example, the factors of 9 are 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. The factors of 81 is 1 and 81. 3 and 27 and 9 times 9. So you can see that the greatest common factor that they have in common is 9. Okay, so I can factor out a 9. And then for x fourth and x squared, the greatest common factor for those would be x squared, because there's an x squared here and there's an x squared here. So in order to get 81, I would have to multiply 9 times 9. Let's make that a negative. So 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. And then x squared times x squared would be this x squared to the fourth. And here to get this 9, we just need to multiply by 1. 9x squared times 1 is 9x squared. So I have two factors, so I can set each one equal to 0. So in here, if I divide by 9, I get 0 is equal to x squared. Take the square root on both sides, so that gives me x is equal to 0. And for this one, I'm going to write it over here. If I subtract 1, then I get negative 1 is equal to negative 9x squared. Divide by negative 9. X squared is equal to positive 1/9. Take the square root. So x is equal to plus or minus 1/3. So the zeros for this one, I'm going to write them here, are x equals 0, x equals 1/3, and x equals negative 1/3. In chapter 2, we'll be working more with these type of problems that are quadratic. So in this problem, we let h of x equals 0. Notice that they all have at least one x, so I can factor out an x. Taking out an x out of here would give me x squared, plus taking 1 out of here would give me plus 5x, and taking this one out here would give me a 6. We need to factor x squared plus 5x plus 6, and that becomes x plus 3 times x plus 2. And then we can set each factor equal to 0. So x is negative 2, x is negative 3, and x is equal to 0. Don't worry too much for this chapter on factoring this. We will look at this in chapter 2 in more detail. As same for letter D. The ones you want to be more familiar with right now would be A, B, C, and E. So for E, we let this equal to 0. Subtract the 20. Divide by 4. So X would be -5.